Welcome to Boulder City City Council. Appreciate everybody being here. Madam, call it to order, and confirmation and posting roll call, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you. The agenda was posted in accordance with Nevada open meeting law. And we have all members present except Councilmember Koki Booth, but I would expect her anytime.
She is on campus.
She's on campus. Perfect.
So if we would all rise for the benediction, or I wish it were, the invocation by Father Abidi Wavida of, if you come and offer the invocation for us, Father, thank you.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we come before you with gratitude this evening. We know that you are with us now in this very room. We give you thanks for your servants, our mayor, city manager, city staff, and city council members. We thank them for the service they have chosen to provide on behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex human beings, carrying burdens, joy, and hope, trusting that you alone can hold us together in your love and peace. And also we pray that you will be glorified tonight through the decisions of this council. We pray that they will have the eyes to see how our lives are all connected and how common good is upheld when we listen and respond to those most vulnerable among us. We pray that your kingdom will come to Boulder City as it is in heaven, through your power working in each of these, your servants. May the voices of those most silenced be heard loud and clear. Defend their cause, O God, through this governing body tonight. We ask you to give them the wisdom, prudence, strength, and courage to do what is right and good for all citizens and become good stewards of your creation as they deliberate on the items before them. May they put the interest of others above their own. May they act with love for common good. And may their every decision be righteous in your sight and benefit all the citizens. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thank you, Father Bede. If you could join us with us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. In the way of public announcement, I'd like to read a proclamation from the office of the mayor. Whereas Milo Hurst has played an instrumental role in the revitalization of the downtown historic business corridor of Boulder City, transforming it into a vibrant and flourishing area that has become a hub of activity for both locals and tourists alike. And whereas through his vision and dedication, Milo has brought to life a restaurant and bar district that has not only become a local favorite, but has also gained national recognition, attracting attention from television shows and media outlets across the country. And whereas 30 years ago, Milo made a bold and visionary decision to open Milo's Cellar and Bistro in the heart of Boulder City. This establishment quickly became the cornerstone of the downtown area, breathing new life into the community and attracting new businesses. And whereas his efforts have brought a renewed sense of energy and enthusiasm to the downtown area, drawing people from near and far to experience the charm and hospitality that Boulder City has to offer. Without the vision and commitment of Milo, Boulder City would not be the thriving community it is today. Whereas Milo has become a pillar of the Boulder City community, not only through his successful business ventures, but also through his unwavering support of the local movement to preserve Boulder City's unique character and small-town charm. And whereas he has been a staunch advocate for small growth, ensuring that Boulder City retain its distinct identity amidst changing times. Furthermore, Milo played a key role in the commissioning and installation of the boulders, upon which the renowned art statues now stands throughout the historic district, adding to the cultural richness of the area. And now, therefore, I, Joe Hardy, Mayor of Boulder City, Nevada, do hereby proclaim September 17th, 2024 as Milo Hurst Day. His tireless efforts have not only revitalized the downtown area, but have also solidified Boulder City's reputation as a beloved destination for both residents and visitors. His legacy of dedication to the community and commitment to preserving the city, the spirit of Boulder City, will continue to inspire future generations. In witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Boulder City, Nevada, to be affixed this 26th day of August 2024. Signed, Joe Hardy. He may not be here right now, but I'd like everybody to clap so he can hear it. Thank you. Are there any other announcements, public announcements at this time? Seeing none, we have administration of oath of office. I think somebody is going to be doing that. Chief?
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Greg Chester, your acting fire chief. So tonight, I'm very proud and happy to be here to conduct 2 swearing-ins and badge pinnings for firefighter Merzanian and firefighter Perez. If you guys want to come forward. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dominic Virginia,
Do solemnly swear to support, protect, and defend.
solemnly swear
Support, protect, and
to
defend
support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and government
and the Constitution and government
of the state of Nevada
of the state of Nevada
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
whether domestic or foreign,
whether domestic or foreign,
and will bear true faith,
bear true faith,
allegiance, and loyalty
allegiance, and loyalty
to the same.
to the same.
Any ordinance, resolution, or law of any state,
Any ordinance, resolution, or law
Of
of
any
any state,
notwithstanding,
notwithstanding,
and will well and faithfully
and will and faithfully
perform all the duties
perform all of the duties
of the office of firefighter
of the office of firefighter,
on which I'm about to enter,
of which I'm about to enter,
so help me God,
so help me God,
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
See if we can do this without stabbing anybody. Is there a paramedic in the house?
Chief, would it be appropriate to have all the firefighters come forward who want to be in this picture with city council members? Because I want to have my picture taken with someone who's going to save my life.
Absolutely, sir. You guys come on.
You first. All right, me first. All right, over here. Hello. All right. Thank you. One more, sorry. Thank you.
We'll now open up public comment. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on this agenda for action, and each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. If you want to speak up to your full 5 minutes, that's okay. If you want to speak up for less than that about anything particular, you're allowed to do that too. So anyone who would like to come up to the microphone at this point, go ahead, state your name, and share with us.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jenna Ritchie. I'm speaking on behalf of the Shane Patton Monument. My former spouse is a now retired Navy SEAL. We did 21 years in the Navy on the SEAL teams, and after moving to this community and hearing about the monument that they wanted to put up, it was really near and dear to my heart. I feel like it's really important not only for this community, but for the SEAL community, because the SEAL community is about family, and knowing that you guys would be putting that monument here would mean more to not just the people that love Shane Patton, but also the people that loved him that were SEALs. And that will also bring in a lot of tourism if you want that. I think we do. But having those monuments are really important. Like, my kids are here to support. Their dad knows that we're here supporting today. And me personally, I just think that it's really important that that monument comes up, because it supports not only Boulder City, but the SEAL community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, can I get the spelling of your last name unless you wrote it on there?
I didn't write it at all.
If there is someone else,
Good evening. My name is Sean Trodahl. Last name is Trodahl. I'm speaking on item agenda number 8 regarding the statue. Council members, I think it is important that if we've celebrated the culture of Boulder City and those who built it, we should celebrate the culture of those who have sacrificed their life for this country. It's something different when you see a statue of somebody that has given their life for a freedom that was greater than theirs, because it shows that they cared about a world bigger than Boulder City, bigger than themselves. I think that is important for the world, not just this city, to see us honor somebody that took their oath to honor a world to protect. Thank you.
thank you.
My name is Bill Rackey. You can spell that R-A-C-K-E-Y. I am here today to comment on the placement of the Shane Patton statue. First off, I am and have been from the very beginning 100% supporter of the statue being constructed. My problem is the placement of it. I think the best location is at the corner of Arizona and the highway. This would be on private property and would need to have the owner's permission and agreement for an amount of years to be there. It would be located in a prominent spot that would gather a lot of foot traffic from visitors and tourists. It would be in the middle of uptown. It would be among many other statues and artwork downtown. Tour buses that stop at the hotel would point it out to the people on the bus to see. People at the restaurants could go over and see it. People eating downtown, it would be close to walk to and view. Thank you.
Thank you. Pardon?
My name is Larry Turner. I'm 100% in favor of the statue being placed up in the park. And while I'm here, I've been procrastinating since last December. I wanted to talk about the fire department and the fact that if 7 of them are here and I have a stroke, there's nobody around. And we service areas all the way out almost to Kingman, down to Searchlight. I think we have some obligation to deliver victims to hospitals. I would love to see an expansion of the fire department and a new fire station somewhere. I probably got most of that wrong, but you get the idea. And, and I'm 100% in favor of that statue.
Go ahead and sign in, and while you're doing that, do we have someone on the phone?
We do. Public comment? Hello?
Yes.
Public comment, go ahead.
Good evening. For the record, Fred Volt. Perhaps some of you know that the three of today's agenda items merit comment. In item 5, no mention has been made in the support materials about CCSD's ongoing efforts to remove ornamental grass at the 4 Boulder City School campuses. Some progress has been made at Garrett, and the resulting new xeriscape offers an attractive and water-efficient alternative. Several months ago, the regional superintendent stated Boulder City would have more such projects at its school campuses. An update on when our community can expect more non-functional ornamental turf removal would be appreciated during her oral comments. Reviewing the fire department's 2024 annual report in agenda item number 6 demonstrates the ongoing high demand for emergency medical services. Perhaps the most startling statistic presented is that over 56% of the EMS calls require transportation of the patient to the Las Vegas Valley. Since Boulder City has a hospital, why are such high numbers of EMS patients unable to find appropriate medical services at Boulder City's hospital? In the interest of keeping fire personnel in Boulder City as much as possible to respond to other emergencies, why doesn't the acting fire chief compare EMS call statistics against the local hospital's capabilities to determine if cost-effective new services could be offered at the local hospital and reduce the unproductive transit times to and from the Las Vegas Valley? Concerning agenda item number 10, it is highly troubling when public bodies and those who populate them suppress public comment. No current problem exists with those in the public lacking time to speak. It is the council's obligation to listen to every person who wishes to speak before the council during public comment periods, which need to be expanded to each action item on the agenda, not just at the beginning and close to the end of the council meetings, as permitted by the state open meeting law. While vacating the second November council meeting makes sense given the Thanksgiving holiday, cutting down on public comment time accomplishes no constructive end except to expedite conclusion of the meeting. Any elected official who is supposed to be listening to the broader public, presumably represented, needs to hear what's on the public's individual and collective minds. In addition, the public present for council meetings deserves to be informed concerning issues of importance to their fellow citizens. That an arbitrary and out of public view decision was made to cease reading emailed public comments before the public and the council represents the antithesis of open and transparent governance. Leave the public comment times at 5 minutes or allocate 3 minutes per speaker for each action item on the agenda. If this council wants to end a genuinely regressive practice, it should cease meeting behind closed doors prior to each council meeting for briefing sessions with staff. The public you are to represent should be able to witness any agreements, questions, and conversations between staff and elected officials in a public forum, such as the council meeting, unless they concern confidential matters such as personnel issues. And I would ask that these comments be added to the record verbatim. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Public comment,
Good
please.
evening. I'm Mary Ralph, and I'm speaking in regards to item number 2, Resolution 7848. I am a current grant writer and past president of Emergency Aid here at Boulder City. Emergency Aid has been part of Boulder City's community since 1966. Its mission is homeless prevention by providing emergency food and financial assistance to our Boulder City residents and stranded travelers here in Boulder City. The Community Block Grant, CDBG, received by Emergency Aid helps us to assist our residents who are low income with rent and utility assistance. This CDBG grant is one of our major funding sources. This past year, Emergency Aid assisted over 112 households with rent and utility assistance. Our food pantry also provided over 1,200 households with food. At this time, our food pantry doesn't receive any funding for any grant funding. We rely on private donations for food and money to sustain our food pantry. This current fiscal year, we are projecting $230,000 for direct services for rent, utilities, and food pantry services to our clients. The $28,000 that we've requested for the CDBG grant assistance from the City of Boulder City for the households of the 24-25 fiscal year. The specific purpose of this grant is to help Emergency Aid keep those families threatened with or facing the threat of eviction or loss of municipal utilities for water and power and sanitation in their homes. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else here?
Hi guys, should I sign in first? My name is Mike Sage. I've spoken on this before, but agenda item 8. I'm in favor of the placement and the approval of the statue. My son grew up going to those car shows with us in that park with his friends. I think the impact would be great if we're able to place it in that location with the history of Shane being represented there for all the kids that are always in that park to see. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone on the phone? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My name is Ainsworth Hunt. I'm a Boulder City resident. I'm calling in opposition of agenda item number 10. After the city clerk and city staff decided to abridge the rights of Boulder City residents to write in comments and have them read to city council during city council meetings, now city council plans to reduce the amount of time that citizens are allowed to speak up to city council. Unlike city council members, we don't get paid $20,000 a year. to take the time to make our voices heard to City Council. I believe that the abridgment of written comments being part of the public record may have already violated open meeting law, NRS 241035, section 10.02, subsection D, where the substance of remarks made by any member of the general public who addresses the body, if he or she requests that the minutes reflect his or her remarks, or if she or he has prepared written remarks, a copy of his or her written remarks, if he or she submits a copy for inclusion. Anyway, abridging the amount of time that the public has to 3 minutes, let's see, the first 10 or 15 seconds are introducing yourself and which agenda item number you have, and it gets cut down from there. Basically, I think it's trampling on the citizens' First Amendment rights to do this. I find that this is an anathema to free speech by a public body. And this is directly not what our founding fathers had in mind when they came up with the First Amendment. The city offers no quantitative data to support the position that shortening the length of time allotted for public comments will produce any actual benefits. The observations are couched in hypotheticals, could, may, etc. No precise explanation is given as to how written comments will be handled, if at all, now that they're not being included as part of commentary. Having them sent to the members of the city council as emails, I have no guarantee that the city council is going to read my comment if it's sent in that way, and it's certainly not going to become part of the public record. That's very disconcerting to me. If the city's so concerned with justifying this based on practices of other municipalities, perhaps we should question whether we're going to abandon our charter. I'm not aware of chronic problems in the way residents deliver their public comments. Some individuals are more practiced at this than others, but not all topics are created equal, and not all consideration is given to the complexity that may be inherent to any particular issue. And shortening comments to just a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, is absolutely ridiculous. City council should be ashamed of themselves for even proposing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here? Come forward, please.
Honorable members of the Boulder City Council, I am Dr. Salvador Vega Hen, an immigrant and a proud naturalized U.S. citizen. I'm also a retired Master Sergeant from the U.S. Army. I study now a significance of history, education, and policy. I serve as a senior special operations combat medic, supporting task forces in Afghanistan, including when Boulder City's finest son, Navy SEAL Shane Patton, made the ultimate sacrifice defending our freedom. I was there. Shane's sacrifice is a historical fact, and a loss many deeply feel today and here. As a commitment to my adopted nation and duty and service to others is what brings me here. I stand before you not to diminish the beauty and the importance of our Veterans Memorial Park, but to urge the City Council to display Shane's statue at Wilbur Square proudly. It is not just crucial, but our duty to honor Shane's sacrifice and enhance Wilbur Square, a place known for its greatest significance in remembrance. It is the perfect location for Shane's memorial. Wilbur Square, as we know, not just a park, but the beating heart of Boulder City's developing history. It holds a unique connection to Shane's service. As we all know, it was constructed as a meeting ground for all who built the Hoover Dam at the times. It embodies resiliency, community, and the unwavering dedication matching the values that echo Shane's selfless service. This square, named after Ray Wilbur, the overseer of the Hoover Dam completion, was the epicenter in the early times of Boulder City life, coinciding with the energy and the momentum building this great nation of ours. The decision to place Shane's memorial here is not just a matter of location, but a significant element of the city history and future remembrance. The square hosted pioneer historical events embodying the unity, perseverance of citizens during the Hoover Dam construction, a spirit of grit, determination, hard work, much like military elite U.S. Navy SEALs like Shane. Shane's memorial should stand where the town's legacy shapes its history, connecting the bravery of the past with the sacrifices of the contemporary to resonate with future generations and remembrance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward?
Members of council, hi, I'm Rusty McLean. I've been in Boulder City since 1973, and I got to watch Shane and a bunch of these kids grow up from snot-nosed to young adults running businesses and the ultimate sacrifice. And all the old timers, you rename the park Wilbur Square, but everybody knows it as Government Park. So I think, that'd be a great place to put Shane's statue. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the one on the phone, Madam City Clerk.
Public comment.
Hi, my name is Bryn Delormier. I'm a resident of Boulder City. And I'd like to speak on agenda item 10, just to say that I agree with everything that Fred Volz and Ainsworth Hunt have said. And also, I find it helpful personally to hear everything in both the written and spoken public comments that other residents have to say. Oftentimes it helps me make up my own mind on certain items, so I find it helpful to hear other people's perspectives. And also regarding the Shane Patton statue, the last time I remember hearing about this in a city council meeting, I believe that city council had directed staff to go back and and create an ordinance on statue placement. They can correct me if I'm wrong. And I haven't heard anything come out of, about an ordinance since then. So I feel that's unfair to both the Shane Patton Foundation, who's worked many years for their statue, and also unfair to residents, because I had heard a lot of commotion in city council meetings about its placement between Wilbur Square and Veterans Memorial Cemetery. So, and this item was also just placed on the agenda 3 business days ago, so I don't believe a lot of people know about it. So I hope that can all be factored into consideration when they decide on this item, knowing that a lot of Boulder City residents don't realize it's even being considered tonight. So thank you for hearing me, and that's all I have. All right, good night.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward? Anyone else on the phone?
Adam Turner, Boulder City since 1982. And in my mind, regardless of Shane's travels, he was Boulder City. Shane needs a statue. The fight to where it is, I'm not sure. But Shane needs a statue. Shane died fighting for his country, and as far as I'm concerned, his country was Boulder City.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Terry Ross. I've never done anything like this in my life, so if my voice is shaking, I apologize. My husband and Kelly and I, we are relatively new to Boulder City compared to everyone else here. We've only been here since 2020 when COVID hit and the world came to an end. But what we did notice was that at the Coffee Cup in Dillinger and wherever we went, there were pictures of Shane and stories about Shane and posters, and everyone, you'd ask, and everyone just opened up and talked about Shane Patton and what he did, and he came from here, and just the stories that we heard, and they were very moving back then. And I researched it, I looked everything up, and so just to be able to be here to speak on the behalf of his statue, we're all for it. We don't have the history everyone does. I don't know what 4 years means here to any of you all, but we're for it. We're for wherever Grant wants to put it. Wilbur Square, that's fine. It's beautiful. We've seen the pictures. We've watched your stuff on TV over the last couple months regarding all of the comments and things about it. And we signed the petition, and obviously we're here for it, and we absolutely 100% agree with it and support it, even being transplants and strangers to your awesome community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming, because if you believe in something, show up. And also, I'd like to, for short people, but anyway, I'd like to, just tell everybody, freedom is not free. And here's a young man who gave up his life for us. And wherever that statue goes, but I can tell you right now, I live here in downtown Boulder. I live on the corner of, across from the park, diagonal from the post office on the corner of Colorado and Nevada Way. And if you don't put that trophy, or not trophy, but that statue in Wilbur Park where it belongs, I'm willing to put it on the corner of my house, of my property, where everybody can see it.
James Hughes, Hughes. Like Terry, fairly new to this community. However, 20-year active duty veteran of the Air Force, 2 combat tours to Afghanistan, 3 to Iraq, and I think we don't do enough to show the legacy and the sacrifices of our heroes and our warriors. So I support this statue and this memorial 100%, and it needs to be on Wilbur Square.
I think the city clerk wants to make sure we got the name of the person who's willing to put it in his front yard. So if you can make sure you signed in your name.
Yeah, my name is John 2, like number 2, Hearts, Madrid. And my address is 1300 Colorado. Coast Guard, Flotilla 61.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council staff, and City Council. During Wreath Across America, we read this message over every grave site, and I like to put Shane Patton's name in this. Today we honor and remember Shane Patton. We thank him. In life, Shane honored his country through his service. In death, Shane may be remembered for his sacrifice for his family and his country and friends. As an Air Force veteran for 20 years, I gave everything to my country. He went above and beyond that, and he gave his life. We are honored to have that statue here, and I know you're going to approve it tonight, and I thank you for that in advance.
Although I know your name, can you state your name for the record?
Denise Ashurst.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is James Patton. I'm Shane's father. Shane sacrificed his life for us, for me. I only wish it was me instead of him. I was born and raised here, graduated high school here, been here 66 years, 20 years as a Navy SEAL. Went around the world twice. Did a lot of stuff. There's Navy SEALs in every hot spot around the world as we speak right now. Doesn't have to be a war. They're in every hot spot, blending in. They all sacrifice, believe me, and it's not an easy job. I feel like Shane should be, his statue should be up here in the park, downtown at least, and where everybody can see it, view it, and ask questions. And families and kids, maybe the father can tell their kids a story about Shane and how he was killed. And all of his buddies that were on that aircraft and on the ground, including Mike Murphy, maybe we can let that be known. Before, at a meeting here, we were kind of denied Wilbur Square because of history, but what better history than the military? The Hoover Dam, yes, history of Boulder City, but the military goes back way far. So I really think that Shane's statue should be uptown, Wilbur Square, and so everyone can enjoy it and lots more people can come by and learn about it. Thank you.
Stand up. Sir, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Anyone on the phone? See. If you want to be on the phone, 702-589-9629. That's 702-589-9629. Anyone else like to come up? Seeing none, we will close public comment and move to possible approval of the regular agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the regular agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Thank you. The consent agenda has been approved. Move to the regular agenda, presentation number 5 by our Clark County School District Regional Superintendent.
Hi, good evening. Deanna Jaskolski, proudly serve as the Region 3 Superintendent that supports all of our schools in Boulder City. To start with our compliance status, the district has no outstanding notices of compliance from the state superintendent. Celebrations, starting with Boulder City High School. They added a new class, which is called our JAG class. It's Jobs for American Graduates. They also added 2 additional dual credit courses, History 101 and 102, and Music 121 and 134. Their culture and climate on campus has been electric, with students very excited to be back at school with their Welcome Back Assembly, Positive Sign Wednesdays, and High Five Fridays, which I'm sure you all see on social media. They're super excited for their homecoming festivities this week. Their float building the 9th through the 11th, a homecoming parade with all of our Boulder City high schools on the 12th, the tailgate on the 12th, and the homecoming game and festivities on the 13th, and our homecoming dance on the 14th. Garrett Middle School is very excited to share that they've doubled the amount of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math programs that they offer. They've doubled enrollment in the robotics program, now offering 3 classes for beginners and 1 for advanced. They are forming a competitive robotics team that's going to be competing this year, and their design and modeling program students are tasked with designing and entering a custom orthotic for patients. This project allows them to gain a deeper understanding of the unique needs of children with specific conditions, and considering the design challenges in creating orthotic that can improve patients' quality of life with the real-world extensions. Another new program to increase the art in STEAM is their digital design and television production course. It's an extension of their broadcast curriculum to expand the visual and performing arts for those students who love to create, and there will be an entrepreneur class for those who love to market their products. Academically, they're very excited to introduce geometry honors into the schedule that I shared prior, that the students had to go to Boulder City High School. So now they have a class that's ready to take on the challenge themselves, and it reflects their commitment to meeting the needs of the students and ensuring they're prepared for future success. They're very proud to welcome 6 new teachers and 5 new support professionals to the Bobcat family, and those talented educators bring a wealth of experience and enthusiasm. They're gearing up for the kickoff of flag football on September 10th at Boulder City High School. Cross country has been added to their fall sports. In addition, there's 16 clubs and activities starting this week to engage our students after school, including junior varsity quiz, homework club, guitar club, equity and diversity, board games, chess, and many 4-H after-school programs. Students have a choice and opportunities to explore their interest, develop new skills, and make new friends. As they look to the rest of the year, they're excited about the journey and opportunities that their students will thrive. And at Garrett Junior High School, they're committed to providing a well-rounded education and experience that provides students with academic success and personal growth. Go Bobcats. Arthur P. King is off to a great start. Their goal is collaboration and continuity with their colleagues at Mitchell. Both principals kicked off the year by bringing the 2 staff teams together for a team building competition that they called, they always are so fun, the Great Guac Off. So Mitchell and King were placed into mixed teams to participate in guacamole making competition. From there, they moved to Mitchell Elementary School for their training in letters. So the letters training is to build capacity in their staff on the science of teaching reading. Many of their staff believe that sight reading is the most effective method, and we're working together towards a more explicit phonics science of reading approach. And again, on September 16th, which is the School District Staff Development Day, their two staffs will again come together to review and discuss the units and talk about how the brain acquires language. Mitchell Elementary School has had a smooth beginning. Their teachers are doing an outstanding job with the Tier 1 materials and with interventions in place to best support all students. They're so happy to have their new counselor, Claire Lambusto. She is the Nevada Counselor of the Year for 2025. She held her very first coffee with counselors last week, and over 20 families showed up to learn about how counselors support the social emotional learning and overall achievement. They're continuing their collaboration with King and bringing their staffs together. And they're supporting the homecoming parade this year with floats and watch parties. And of course, their students are able to come station by the pool to eat a frozen treat while the homecoming parade. And they're in the middle of their fundraiser for this school year, and they continue to be grateful and humbled by the community's outstanding support of their schools. And with that, those celebrations, I'm happy to answer any questions in regards to the quarterly report.
Thank you. Any questions? You go ahead.
I know we've just gotten back to school. What I really appreciated when you were putting the stats down of how the kids were doing in school. And so hopefully we'll be back next quarter, because I could see that we were coming up, and I'd like to see if we've progressed any further in that. So I would appreciate those.
Thank you. Absolutely.
As always, thank you so much for coming and informing us on Boulder City. We appreciate it. I do have a couple questions. I know Martha Peking is losing some staff members there. And I know that we have some, I guess, autonomy, right, in the way that we run our schedules and who we hire, how we pay. Is it from a lack of students, a lower number of students? If so, how many? Do you happen to know, and how many we're losing?
Thank you for the question, Councilwoman Jorgensen. The strategic budgets have not been finalized and released, so when that information is available, we'll be able to provide that.
Okay, great. Then also, I just had a question. So I know that a lot of times teachers are required. I know sometimes we're required for unfunded mandates, is what we like to call them. So I was just wondering, when you initiate a new program like letters or something, if the teachers have to do training outside of the classroom, do you subsidize payments for them for that time?
We have multiple options through our curriculum and instruction division to provide support. So there's different options that the schools can choose to provide support for the teachers outside of the professional development days.
Okay, does that also come from the funding from that school's private funding source, I guess you would say, right? So they get to choose, okay, I'm going to give you as a teacher monies for doing this training, but then it comes out of their budget, not Clark County School District's.
So there's a partnership with that. So the school district does fund the professional learning and working with the trainers that are providing the professional learning through letters, and then through the strategic budget at the school site to be able to pay above and beyond those pieces.
Okay, great, because I know that they rotate in and out a lot. There's new programs, there's new training, you're always having to do it. And last time you came, talked about possibly sharing spaces with the community. I know that we have the opportunity to share spaces with you. We have Bravo Field, we have swimming pools that they practice at. We have things like that, and we recognize that you have some spaces that would be nice for us to be able to share as a community, your track, possibly for people who would like to walk around a track, right? Because we do have requests for that. It used to happen that they could walk around it. We no longer can. The tennis courts, things like that maybe we could partner the other way would be nice. Did you have an opportunity to look into that?
My apologies that information did not get to you. We'll get that to you as soon as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Did you forget to ask her about the swimming pool?
If they could build it for us.
I will take that request back, Mayor.
She's going to get back to us on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good evening.
Good to have you here. All right. We'll move to presentation number 6, Chief Chesser.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Greg Chesser, your acting fire chief. Sorry, kind of make my room here. So it is with great pride that I present the annual report for fiscal year 2024 on behalf of the dedicated professionals of the Boulder City Fire Department. Despite the challenges and complexities of the fire service, our unwavering commitment to serving the community with respect, accountability, professionalism, integrity, diversity, and compassion remains steadfast. Get my picture off that vision. Our vision. This year we did, it's back on there again. We did update our vision a little bit. The Boulder City Fire Department will continuously strive to meet the changing needs of our community. We will be accountable to those we serve, each other, and any organization we interact with. We are committed to maintaining a high level of readiness and providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction through innovative training, education, and equipment. Our mission, if you recall before, our mission talked about achieving accreditation, so I had to change that. It is the mission of the Boulder City Fire Department to provide the highest level public safety services for our community. We protect lives and property through fire suppression, advanced life support, emergency medical transport, hazardous materials, technical rescue, disaster management, community service, and community risk reduction. It is our number one priority to provide the best emergency services to all Boulder City residents and visitors. Our core values remain the same. The members of our department are committed to the rapid C, which again is respect, accountability, professionalism, integrity, diversity, and compassion. Instead of doing an org chart, because there's always some questions, this year I did a little something different. So I just kind of listed out the different titles within the department and kind of what they do. That way we have a better idea of who does what. So I'll start with the administration of the department. The fire chief, which is currently vacant, has the overall management of the fire department and manages the city's emergency response plan. The deputy fire chief, which is my position, is currently serving as the acting fire chief, has the overall management of the day-to-day operations. Directly manages operations, fire prevention, public education, and the vehicle fleet. Our assistant fire chief, Chief Barone, directly manages the training and special operations programs, health and safety and reserve program. We have an administrative captain, it's Captain Whitworth. He oversees the EMS program and supports the chiefs and other duties, so whatever we need him to do. We have a contract fire inspector, Brad Stasic. He is a contract position that manages our fire inspections, design reviews, construction inspections, and new business inspections. Our admin assistant, which is Kat Carreri, everybody knows Kat, handles all of our customer needs, payroll, billing, and keeps me on my toes. We also have a medical director, Dr. Rollins, who oversees our EMS protocols and ensures we are working within health district guidelines. He works out of the Boulder City Hospital. And then last, we have our department chaplain, who is Jason King, and he provides a critical service to our department with our mental health resources to our firefighters. After all the times that I reviewed the slides, I just realized that the organization on the next slide should say operations, not administration, even though I looked at this 20 times. So within the operations section, the guys who are on the vehicles, we have our 3 captains. Each shift has a captain who manages, supervises the 3 shifts that work 48 on and 96 off. Each shift has 3 engineers. Has an engineer who drives the engine, operates the pump during fires, and overall maintenance responsibilities for the vehicle fleet. Then we have 14 full-time paramedic firefighters and 4 full-time AMT firefighters. Each shift is assigned 6 of those. And on a side note, out of those 3 AEMTs, or 4 AMTs, 3 are currently working on their paramedic. So by the end of this year, those numbers will be up. Our reserve program, we've talked about it 100 times up here, is critical and very important to our department. We currently have 3 reserve battalion chiefs who provide support at the incident command level. Actually, one of them is here tonight. Usually working weekends, covering the command role, providing that relief to myself and Chief Barone, who perform these duties during the week or on the weekend when they're not available. So we're working 24/7, 7 days a week. They're our backup. Then we have our reserve firefighters who provide the department with a way to supplement daily staffing deficiencies, as well as a program for individuals interested in the fire service career because they're reserve. We currently only have 2 of those. We're looking at other options to increase that. Again, as we've discussed up here before, we are competing for part-time positions when the Valley is hiring 40 and 50 at a class for full-time positions, and that's our competition right now. Once the departments in the Valley slow down their hiring processes, we should be able to go back to the 19-week Fire Academy model. Our goal is to build this back up to at least 6 to 8 within the next 6 months through a hybrid process. We have received some interest and are looking how to effectively do this. So on to the response statistics. For 2024, Boulder City Fire had 2,629 calls for service. This is a slight increase of 2,458 calls last year. Looking at the call volume by month, the data is very similar to last year. So there's really no up or down within the months. It's pretty steady. Most of these calls, 2,132, 81% are classified as EMS, emergency medical service incidents. In terms of fire-related calls, of the 29 reported fires, 5 involved structures. Going back to the EMS calls, compared to the 2023, FY23, EMS calls are up from 1,904, so this is a slight increase. Fire suppression numbers was the same as at 29, exactly 29 from the year prior. Tech rescue was the same at 7. Hazardous materials are down from 12 last year, as well as aircraft emergencies, which were at 11. Wildland or brush type fires, yes, we have that category, even though we don't have the trees. Anything that burns in the grass or burns one bush is considered a wildland. We're down from 7 last year. Non-injury vehicle accidents were at 40. And then we had 235 service calls or good intent calls. And then lastly, our mutual aid calls to support our neighbors with the Park Service, Hoover Dam and Clark County, increased from 85. And as you can see, it went to 110. However, a note on that, a lot of those calls, roughly 25 of those calls were canceled en route. So initially got the call, and then we ended up getting canceled. Of the 29 suppression events, 4 were structure fires with a total value of $1.8 million and a total loss of $718,000. Of those 4, 3 were caused by electrical, and 1 was caused by discarded flammable material. And then a note on that, on the last part, alarm activations that I wanted to highlight. The year prior, we had 128 fire alarm activations, and all 128 had no fire to the alarm activations. So they were false calls. This year, it dropped to 98, and I will attribute that to our fire inspector being full-time, because it used to be 1 day a week. Over the last year and a half, he's been a full-time Monday through Thursday. So his efforts in the inspection program, Monday through Thursday, we can pretty much tie that to his efforts. So further into the response statistics, before we get into those, I want to break down our map. We have, within the urban area, we have 2 different urban areas, so I want to kind of highlight that real quick. So in urban 1 is basically the area where our current fire station meets the industry standards, the response times. Okay? So within the urban area 1, we have the airport, the Boulder Creek area, Boulder Parkway, industrial, what we call Old Town, Oasis, Muni, and Lakeview. So that area, those areas are within the industry standards for our current fire station. Urban Area 2 is what we consider outside those industry standards. And that's Del Prado, San Felipe, Lake Mountain, Hemingway, Table Rock, and Keys. So when we get into the actual times, I kind of stuck to the moderate risk, which we have low risk, which are basically your non-emergent calls. Your moderate risk are your actual, where your lights and sirens and you're sending a lot of people. So for EMS calls requiring transport, we have a 90% goal. That's our standard, is 90% of the time we meet that response goal of 120 or 1050. I'm sorry, for 650 and 1050 for urban 1. And then for urban 2, it's 1050 for both the first unit. And if it requires more than one unit, both, all the units are there within 10 minutes and 50 seconds. So that's how the goals are set. If you can see in urban 1, we had 816 calls that required, that were moderate risk. You see our times there. We're still not meeting that 90th percentile, and we're not meeting the 650, the standard. We're at 648, which is a tremendous trend in the right direction. We're still dealing with, this is 5 years of data. So if you look back when we first got here, we're still dealing with 2020 data, which I call bad data. And it's not on the part of the fire department. It's just the way they track their data. So a lot of the numbers were high. But we still had to include it. What I'm looking forward to this year is the same RMS system that we're currently using to track our data, and all of what we consider the good standardized data in there, that we came in and we established the goals of how we get out of the, how the calls are done, the dispatches, how we get out of the station, how we travel, stuff like that. So I really think that data is going to decrease even further once we get to the end of, once we're standing here next year and doing that. I really think that those numbers will change. For fire suppression, again, we're looking at structure calls. So we're not calling car fires, things like that. We're just strictly looking at moderate risk, which are your 4 structure fire calls on the urban 1, and then your urban 2 is 1 call. So you essentially cannot do a 90th percentile on 4 calls and 1 call. You just have to take the worst time out of those, and that's how you see these numbers here. And again, we don't meet the standard. First unit does for our goal, but as far as the national standard of 620 in the urban 1, we do not. And as you see, the total ERF, which the goal is 1450, the standard is, so we meet the goal, but I can tell you on that one right there, actually, no, I take that back. So that 1405 includes our Henderson. So we have to include that ERF being Henderson as well. Because your ERF for fire suppression does include the Henderson, the 15 firefighters total. So, and then the urban 2, again, our total ERF 1524 was a little higher, but that's off of 1 call. EMS transports. So we responded again to 2,132 EMS calls in 2024 compared to 1,904 the previous year, representing a 10% increase. Of those 2,132 EMS calls, 82%, 1,759, result in transport to area hospitals compared to 74% in 2023. The hospital destinations are determined by the type of call or by the patient's request, in accordance with Southern Health District protocols. In FY24, 41%, 722 of the transports were to Boulder City. 31% to St. Rose, Siena, and then 25% to Henderson Hospital, and then 3% were to some other area hospitals. So in terms of percentages, these numbers roughly are about the same as last year. There's really no changes. On the EMS side, primarily, what I did 2 years ago is start a customer service as far as how we do business. How did we help an individual? We started this survey to kind of look at our get feedback, specific calls. So being committed to delivering exceptional service to our resident commuters and visitors, we looked at this feedback as a way to measure our performance and identify areas of improvement. So in the calendar year of 2023, the department mailed questionnaires to 142 customers and received 57 responses, representing a 40% return rate. And as you can see, the questions that we asked, we went from the time the first two questions dealt with the dispatcher, and then the remaining questions dealt with our folks on the rescue of how well did we provide a service. And as you can see on what we got back was 98%, 99% that we met or exceeded their customer service expectations. And we're continuing doing this. I'm not going to stop this. We'll continue to keep doing this customer survey. So. Effective and regular fire safety training helps prepare individuals to prevent, respond to, and mitigate incidents with the knowledge, skills, and confidence necessary to handle all types of emergencies. Over the past year, we have achieved nearly 8,500 hours of training, 8,485 to be exact. Another important part of our training is through certifications. As you can see, we had an exceptional year in achieving certifications to increase our response capabilities, especially in the area of technical rescue with swift water and vehicle extrication. So these are all individual certifications, and most of them are at the state certification level, correct? Those are all state. So these are all state certified. Another huge capability piece is the fire investigator certification I wanted to note. Prior to this year, we had one certified fire investigator in the city. That was me. Now I have two. So we have another individual who went out and achieved this certification. And what this does is just mainly reduces our reliance on mutual aid partners to conduct fire investigation. Gives me a break. So in community risk reduction, first I want to define community risk reduction. CRR is a process to identify and prioritize local risk, followed by the integrated and strategic investment of resources to reduce their occurrence and impact. We have our community risk analysis that we conducted in 2021, which outlines our larger risks such as hazardous materials or structure fire risk. Then we can focus prevention efforts on those type of risks through fire inspections. So that kind of brings that community risk reduction into focus. Then we have our public risk analysis, which looks at our call types and frequencies, looks at our risk associated with the population and age. Then we develop education materials based on those risks. For example, if we see a trend of kitchen fires, we would focus education towards kitchen fires and how to prevent those. One constant that we do focus on is our elderly population, providing safety education on things like fall prevention, oxygen safety, etc. We also hold several events in the fall specific to children, which is coming up here in the next month. That's already on the schedule. And then in October 26th of last year, we organized our first Senior Safety Day, bringing vendors together to provide seniors with health, wellness, and safety information. Over 40 residents attended that event. I think it was a huge success, and we're starting to look at that again to do that in the spring. What I really want to do is do it twice a year. So that's what we're looking at right now. Emergency management. This is another important piece of the fire department. The fire chief represents the city as the emergency manager as a member of the Clark County Emergency Management Group, the Clark County Local Emergency Planning Committee, the Clark County Threat and Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment Committee, Clark County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazards Mitigation Committee, Las Vegas Urban Area Working Group, and the Urban Area Security Initiative. I have a lot of meetings. So here's a quick snapshot of the emergency management activities during the past year. The Emergency Operations Center was on standby 5 times, which were related to our larger events in the city, such as Art in the Park and those events. It was partially activated 1 time, which was the Mojave Desert York Fire in July of 23. And then we were fully activated 1 time for our rare tropical storm Hillary in August of 23. And we also represented Boulder City in the Clark County EOC during the Formula One race and the Super Bowl events. And we'll be doing that again here shortly for the Formula One. Over the past year, we completed the draft for the city's emergency operational plan covering the minimum NRS requirements and aligning the plan with Clark County. And as part of that new draft, emergency support function checklists were also developed. And a nearly year-long process that ended in November was being part of the team that developed the Clark County's multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. Improved capabilities. This year we celebrated, or last year, we celebrated the groundbreaking on our 2-acre training area next door to the fire station, with the purchase and the build of the 2-story training building. This training building will provide opportunities to training personnel in live fire situations, confined space, search and rescue, high-angle rescue, and much more. Plans for the area include concrete and fencing of the area, training pads for a vehicle fire trainer, vehicle extrication, and an electrical fire trainer. Through the city's Vehicle and Equipment Replacement Fund program, the VERF, the department was able to obtain 2 new rescue units to replace 2 units that were over 12 years old. Both of these units were remount apparatus, which means the box was removed and the chassis replaced. This process saved the city over $200,000 per vehicle. On the accomplishments of the past year, the credentialing process through the Commission on Professional Credentialing, the CPC, helps you achieve continuous professional improvement and gain recognition for your career achievements and excellence. Over the past year, 5 individuals achieved this credentialing. So we now have 1 chief fire officer and 5 fire officer credentialed personnel. And you can see those 5 there. We had Walt West, achieved CMS, he is now retired. Engineer Justin Clift, Captain Walton, Captain Bleck, and then Captain Whitworth are all now credentialed. And under the Fire Department Accreditation Program, we are one of 324 agencies in the world that are accredited. Only 13% of the U.S. population is protected by an accredited agency. There are only 3 agencies in the state, and that is us, Henderson, and Naval Station Fallon. There are currently 5 agencies in the process of seeking accreditation, so we are all very proud that we are assisting those as well and achieving that. In June, every year, we hold our annual award ceremony along with PD and courts. This year, we recognize a lot of members for their work as Firefighter of the Year and Commendation Awards, but most impressive is the number of life saves that I was able to hand out. And during the year, we had 4 cardiac life saves, and 18 personnel were recognized in those efforts. In the report are all the pretty pictures of those. Okay, on to the gaps analysis. So the standard to cover declares the Boulder City Fire Department's service level, defines the basic resources necessary to meet the stated objectives, and identifies the current effectiveness of these objectives. This standard was developed to ensure the citizens in Boulder City receive an adequate emergency response from Boulder City Fire Department. The standard of cover provides for an emergency response determined by the nature and type of incident and assigns department resources accordingly and is available for access to the public. This document, is available on our website, on the city website. The gap analysis, it's easier to say it this way. It is the duty of the senior staff members to monitor incident data to ensure the requirements for the standard are met. When any non-conforming trends are identified, senior staff members shall make recommendations to bring response times with compliance. It is the duty of each captain to adhere to the staffing requirements of the standard. It is the responsibility of all the fire department personnel to respond quickly and safely to life-threatening emergencies. So the gaps in performance are reported in our SOC. And as you can see, these two items are our current gaps. Referring back to the urban area 2, total response time exceeds industry standards. Our proposed solution would be evaluate and plan for a future fire station. And I noted long-term on there. I think with the limited resources available, the best course right now is to look at this as a long-term plan. It's not a short-term plan. And then the last one, and this would be all zones. And again, we've discussed this in other meetings. 17% of the calls last year occurred concurrently, reducing our response capabilities. So we were always in discussion about that third rescue, having that third rescue. And so staff increased from 8 to 10 per day to staff 3 rescues, 6 personnel, 1 engine. That is our proposed solution. Other issues that I won't say that are gap related, they're more impact performance related. First one is the fire station. Our current fire station lacks sufficient restroom shower facilities for more than 1 female on duty. So our proposed solution there is expand and upgrade the female restroom. I will say we have $175,000 in the CIP for that. And we are working with Public Works right now to, we have the design, and so now we're working the next phase of that one to get that one working. And then the last one, the fire station lacks sleeping quarters, allowing for only a minimum number of firefighters to be on duty. Currently, the current setup is currently set up to sleep 10. However, 2 rooms, and you guys have all seen these, have bunk beds, which is not an industry standard. The fire station administration lacks space for personnel. Currently, our contract fire inspector is located here in City Hall. So our proposed solution there is to relocate administrative staff to another location, convert the office area into sleeping quarters and a captain's office, and expand and upgrade the administrative restroom for showers. This would create sleeping quarters for up to 12 personnel. And my note here is basically kind of saying we want to look at our focus on improving what we have and then what we need down the road. Goals for the upcoming year: complete the training area. I will note we have 100% design as of this week, which should be reviewed and signed by the 12th, and then it will go out for bid on the week of the 23rd. If approved by council, which they're hoping to be in the first part of October, the construction would begin late October and go through the end of November. With regards to the improving living area, we did have an issue where we have a barbecue area, which most of our guys, a lot of our guys every night do the cooking. I've already got that covered patio working right now. I hope to have that thing covered within the next 30 days. So. And then number 5, complete external and internal stakeholder survey. So in 2021, we did our first internal and external stakeholders, and many of you guys were there at the golf course for that external stakeholders. So we're looking to do that again here in the next few months. And the intent will be to take that information between the external and the internal, our continued risk analysis that we still have now, and to look and redo our strategic plan. Our strategic plan technically still has 2 years on it, but what I want to do is I want to create a new strategic plan in 2025 that will adhere with the city's timeline of their strategic plan, and then also we can fit in the items that come out on that will also go into our strategic plan as well. So in summary, let me click that. In summary, our team responded to over 2,600 total requests for services this year, reflecting a persistent demand for our services. We have been working diligently to expand our capabilities in an effort to fulfill the community's needs and reduce our reliance on mutual aid from our neighbors. Our team of skilled professionals in all areas of the department work tirelessly to serve the community, and I could not be prouder of their efforts. Their passion for serving and commitment to our mission are what sets us apart. And we are honored to have earned the respect and support of our community. This report showcases our achievements and performance over the past year, and I'm confident will provide a sense of pride and honor to all those who read it. As acting fire chief, I'm deeply committed to our mission and values, and I hope this report conveys the same passion that our team brings to work each day. Lastly, for the first time ever, we have a printed annual report, which will be made public on our city webpage tomorrow morning. But you guys get the first fresh copies tonight. So with that, I will take questions.
No.
Oh, questions?
Except with one change. The org chart.
So you want to share with us what the question is?
We were just clarifying that the annual report he has provided paper copies here for council was the same version as in the packet, because if there's a new, we just have to make sure there's copies for the public.
Okay. And we did.
Yes, it's in the packet, so everything is good to go.
All right, thank you. Questions for the chief? Councilwoman Booth.
You were explaining something to me that I didn't understand about the different level of paramedics that we have and their training. Could you explain that to the citizens of Boulder City?
So in general, you have a basic EMT, and then you have an advanced EMT, and then you have a paramedic. So we have EMTs, and the difference is your advanced EMTs can do a higher level of pre-hospital care that can push drugs, that can do a lot more advanced life-saving than at the AMT. So with what we have out here, our goal would to be have 100% of our people on the floor as paramedics. We need all 7 or 8 now.
And how many of our firefighters are paramedics?
All but 4 right now.
All but 4.
Right.
I thought that
So,
was amazing.
yeah,
We're very lucky to have them.
20 of 24 right now. But the other 3 of them are actually going through the process right now.
And when somebody shows up at your house, they're well prepared, and I think that speaks volumes for our fire department. Thank you.
You were talking about the public education classes. When are those?
The public education?
Yeah.
So we put that out through social media is our primary, and we do those throughout the year. I mean, I put them out on social media every month.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, we schedule out which ones, whether it be the CPR, the AED classes, are what we try to do is do at least 4 a year. And then for businesses, We are literally, we get calls, hey, I have 15 people, can you do it on this day? And we do that as well.
Okay. And when you say social media, is that Facebook?
It's
Instagram?
on everything. So we do it on Facebook. We do it on the city page, or the city Facebook page, our Facebook page, next door, the neighbors, whatever that app is. Yeah.
And are there age restrictions for these classes, like the CPR, Stop the Bleed? Do you have to be- I guess what's the youngest?
Because we do that child and babysitter safety class. I think that one we set at 10, 12? 12 for CPR.
Okay.
And then
What about Stop the Bleed?
12, same.
Perfect. Thank you.
First off, Chief Chesser, thank you so much for giving us an idea of what it means to live in your shoes for a little bit. I really appreciate it. I know that we're all just one emergency away from extreme appreciation for all that you do. So thank you. I did have one question regarding the training facility. I know that we talked about this in briefing, and I felt so thankful that you told me it's brand new to us. We do controlled burns in there, and we have procedures in place for it. Did you want to share a little bit of what those procedures are?
So, so when we did those initial training certification burns, those were a little outside the optimum. It was 110 degrees and there was a 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing. Unfortunately, we had to get those done because it was an outside agency, out-of-state person doing the classes. And so we had a limited time and window to do those. What we quickly discovered was with those winds and conditions was it allowed us to develop our own internal process for when we actually do plan and conduct fires. So, it allowed us to set the standard for if anything's over 15 mile an hour, we're not burning. If anything's over 90 degrees, we're not burning. Heat index of 90 degrees. So if you really look at this, there's going to be a window between November and March where we're going to burn. But again, I've tasked my training chief to be very careful and considerate of the public when we're doing these, as well as the notification piece. So we did include that in there. It's a 2-week notification when we do plan on burns that we notify the area businesses.
And I really appreciate that because I know that as far as our residents go, I know that they had some concerns, and I feel like this really addresses most of them, and I'm thankful for that. Plus, I just want to say thank you for a response to the transformer fire. I think that's living proof that we don't always get to choose what the winds look like, how hot the day is, or where the fire is, or if there's smoke. And I think that's why we train, and I think that's why you do what you do, so that you're ready to respond in a way that helps keep us safe. So thank you.
I'll give all the credit to Chief Barone since I was on the beach. So
Then pass that forward. So thank you.
Just for the benefit of everybody who might be listening or might watch it later, under the issues section, I don't know if you meant to veil it a little bit or if that was on accident, but you said the station lacks being built out to its capacity or to the standards and to what's ideal. And you said we were going to focus on what we have. And is that a statement relative to the potential for a second fire station versus building out this station and taking the resources that would have been taken to another station and put it into this one and focus on the assets we have?
Well, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning on the gaps piece when I spoke to limited resources. I'm not sure, with the limited resources that we currently have, of how to adequately, staff 2 stations. So there's my concern. So that's why I kind of noted the long-term in the station too, of making that a long-term. And right now, for the immediate, is to focus on the current things that we have and the current issues that we have within the fire station, the current fire station.
Thank you. I think it's important to recognize that every department, especially our public safety departments, are always conducting risk management. And that target shifts and adjusts from year to year. And, depending on what new things are occurring, or the change in materials or vehicles or any variety of things. And so the idea that, having a second station might be ideal when we consider the resources that we have in staffing, equipment. Maybe filling that gap just isn't a reality at this point, kind of as you noted. And so we'll do the best we can with what we have currently, and maybe take some resources and maximize what we have there. And there are some little bit of cleanups I noticed in our response times. I'm sure we're working on our dispatch times. I know our dispatchers are working their tails off, and the numbers that we see there are not reflective of their efforts or desires to do great, but just maybe some processes can be cleaned up, right? So we can improve our response times right there without additional staffing. Well, dispatch could need staffing, and that's a different conversation, right? But when we're talking operations personnel, we could make some improvements without adding a single individual in that way, right, in the response times.
Well, I know with council's approval of the new CAD system, as well as last year approving us to get the new notification system within the state, the alerting system in the station, which I didn't even include this in here because it's not fully operational, so that'll be in this year's annual. So we hope that alone, I'm hoping, will reduce those dispatch times. Again, getting out of that fifth year, that 2019 year, prior to my arrival, to where we started actually doing the standards of the 1 minute. We started holding to the standards then. So those numbers prior were a little up there. So this year that number will fall off. So that alone may paint a whole new picture.
And that's part of the gap analysis, right? And seeing what areas we can fill in with the resources that we have, and just the process improvements. So thanks for doing that. And to the point that's been made on the types of calls, our folks do mutual aid. They helped rescue, with technical rescue skills, some hikers that were stranded and probably would have perished on the Arizona side of the Hot Springs Trail earlier this summer. And they don't get to choose what time of day or what time of year. And they were out there at the same time in the same conditions that those hikers would have died under, but they brought them out safely. As well as the vehicle accidents that are on the freeways and the extrications, and the last heavy vehicle that crashed at the roundabout. At that I-11 and the Dam Road interchange. So there's a lot that our folks are doing. When we talk about the number of calls, it really doesn't go into what they're doing. And when you talk about accountability to each other, you specifically use that phrase. There is a culture and a standard of excellence with our response folks. And they do hold each other accountable, and they do a fantastic job, and they give their all to every single call that they're on. And I appreciate that you'd mentioned the three factors that dictate where a patient goes, right? So the nature or type of illness or injury, patient request, right, and Clark County Health District protocol.
Correct.
So there's not always a choice. Even if the patient wants to go someplace, protocol might dictate they go somewhere else.
Correct.
And so those three factors will dictate how that decision is made. And I don't know that those numbers have changed much over the years. I think you mentioned they're pretty steady.
It's pretty.
And sometimes I know our guys and gals are transporting all the way to the VA home out by Nellis. because that's the appropriate place for that particular patient, or other places that just take us out of town. And then we have another gap, right? So we have an ambulance out of the 2 that are in operation that's gone for an hour and a half or more. And then we get another call, and then another call. And we're really behind the power curve. Again, the gap analysis, right? Trying to fill those gaps with what we have. And so we do depend on our mutual aid partners. You know, we seem to get our mutual aid from the west and provide mutual aid to the north, mutual aid to the north and the east. And that's just kind of the flow of our boundaries typically. So anyway, appreciate your presentation and the efforts that are going on there, the leadership that we have for our operations folks and all the other support staff functions. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So my question was going to be about the protocols. So if somebody's picked up in Boulder City and you notice that they are going to need more extensive care, you can go directly to a tertiary care center and bypass Boulder City Hospital. Yes?
Yes. I don't know if that was waiting on the
And by the same token, are you called to take someone from Boulder City Hospital to another hospital, or is that private?
That's private.
Okay. And then the ERF that you have for Henderson, for El Dorado Valley, are those things that are extending to your 14 minutes, are those from the El Dorado Valley specifically, or they're going over the hill and taking, that's the 14 minutes that?
That's just the 14 minutes to come into the urban. I track the data and the times to the El Dorado Valley, but because we already know, just you look at a map and say there's no way we can meet any standards out there.
Right.
There's what we call outliers in the accreditation world. Those are considered outliers, outlying areas that you cannot meet standards with any resources. So while we track all that data, we don't track the time per se. It's not held to the 90th percent.
And you aren't responsible for what the Boulder City Hospital can do or can't do. You take the person to where they're supposed to be.
We go to where they're needed, where they're going to get the best care with that particular call.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to bill number 7, and we need an introduction of bill number 2065. Waive the reading except for title.
I'll move to introduce bill number 2067, waive the reading except for title.
And
Thank you. Bill number 2067, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City, Nevada, extending the city limits of Boulder City by annexing thereto approximately 4.04 acres surrounded by Boulder City limits located west of US 95, south of Spring Canyon Road, east of Droneport Avenue, and north of Black Hills Drive, as described as north half of the southwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of Section 26, Township 23, South, Range 63 East, MDM, APN 189-26-101-005, and approving an annexation agreement between the City of Boulder City and John Winston, Ronald Kofstad, Branson Neff, and Spencer Richens, owners, with respect to the annexation of such property. This matter will be considered at the next regular City Council meeting.
thank you. That brings us to regular business, item number 8. I think we're going to take a brief recess. Thank you.
Brief, coming back when?
We will be back in 7.5 minutes.
Clapping so hard, my watch called the paramedics. What? Because I had that fall detection on it. Oh, no, they just got to call me while I was here. No! And I had to answer those questions. I'm happy.
Come back to order. Good evening, Mayor Hardy, members of City Council. The Shane Patton Scholarship Foundation has submitted a public memorials and monuments application to place an approximately 12-foot high monument in Wilbur Square Park to honor Shane Patton, a longtime Boulder City resident and Navy SEAL who died on June 28, 2005, along with 18 other service personnel during Operation Red Wings in Afghanistan. The proposed renderings and location for the monument, as you can see on the screen, are located in the center of Wilbur Square. And this is a close-up showing the monument and the statue. Apologize for the clarity there, which shows the base and then its position within Wilbur Square and the statue itself. In 2023, the City Council approved the Public Memorial and Monument Policy, which I'll refer to as just the policy through my presentation, that provides guidelines for the placement of memorials and monuments on city-owned property. Section 9 of the policy provides criteria for the City Council to consider with each application request. The policy has been provided in a packet for your reference. As noted, the applicants are requesting that the monument be located in Wilbur Square. Prior staff feedback and comments made during both the Parks and Recreation Commission meetings and the Historic Preservation Commission meetings had also noted an alternative location at Veterans Memorial Park. So in the staff report, we provided a background on both Wilbur Square and Veterans Memorial Park, and I just want to briefly highlight that as part of the presentation. Wilbur Square was named after the U.S. Secretary of Interior, Ray Wilbur. This park was constructed around 1933 during the initial development of Boulder City by urban planner and landscape designer S.R. DeBoer. The intent of the park was to serve as an informal park and focal point to reinforce the Reclamation Administration building built on top of the hill. The layout of the park and pathways are symmetrical in design with views extending to the high school. The park was intended to soften the surrounding features to provide a more natural setting as a community park. Veterans Memorial Park is a 103-acre park that includes a variety of recreational amenities. There are several existing memorials and monuments in the park that tie back to the name of the park. A rocks memorial was placed at the eastern entrance of the park, which consists of 7 large standing boulders in a loose circle, and a poem in memory of Army Corporal and Boulder City High School graduate Matthews Commons, who died along with 6 others during a rescue mission in the mountains of Afghanistan in 2002. 2 of the recreational fields have been memorialized. Field 1 for the name of Daniel Leach, a Boulder City resident and Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department corrections officer, who died on duty on this November 21st, 2009. And Field 2, dedicated to Shane Patton by the City Council on September 13th, 2005. Additionally, there's a memorial within the park that is dedicated to the memory of all war dogs and police canine units. The policy requires the review of the application by the Parks and Recreation Commission, and in the case of a monument that's going to be located within the Historic District, by the Historic Preservation Commission.
The Parks and Recreation Commission reviewed the application on July 22nd, 2024, and recommended 3-2 to locate the monument in Wilbur Square. The Historic Preservation Commission reviewed the application on July 24th, 2024, and recommended 3-1 to locate the monument in Wilbur Square. As part of the policy guidelines, 2 departments were consulted regarding the proposed location within Wilbur Square. Their feedback is contained within the staff report, but I just wanted to provide a brief summary of that feedback. The Parks and Recreation Department expressed concerns with the proposed location of the memorial as it would reduce the amount of square footage available in Wilbur Square for special events. The Public Works Department was concerned with the proposed location as it could negatively impact the nearby tree root system, including the Moses Memorial Tree, either damaging the roots of the tree or the roots of the tree potentially damaging the monument in the future. Public Works was also concerned about impacts on accessibility with the proposed location at that central position within the park. In conclusion, staff is seeking council direction regarding the application request. Grant Turner with the Shane Patton Scholarship Foundation is here to answer any city council questions. And then I can also answer any questions.
Thank you. Maybe we should invite Mr. Turner to come forward for any questions we might have.
Good evening, Council. Grant Turner, Shane Patton Foundation. I'd love to answer your questions.
I have a question. I went out yesterday and walked the site and the area, and I looked at the plan that you have, and we were talking, we have a focus on ADA, just making it accessible, because we want everyone to be able to access it, and especially a lot of times veterans who come back or wounded or something, and this will give them access to. We saw the beautiful pavers that you have there. Is there an opportunity or option to be able to manipulate it a little, to be able to have access, to be able to have what it needs to be able to be ADA appropriate on one side or available on one side at least? Or I know that there's a theme or a look that you have going there. I'm just wondering how we might be able to address that.
I believe so. I think we could make that a priority. And we certainly love the design that we came up with, but we're flexible enough to allow for ADA access. The grade that we're accomplished, the grade on the existing concrete, I think is matches the grade of the pavers and the benches. So it could be something as a little flat work pathway from the existing concrete onto the pavers, which I think we could also accomplish and make it look aesthetically pleasing.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Turner? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind if I say a
Actually,
quick word? And
you have a problem because this isn't public comment right now.
Okay.
So I think Mr. Fox will probably ask you a question that you can then answer.
Is that how that works? I'll sit back down and wait patiently.
Do you have a question? Mr. City Manager, would you like to come up and answer any questions? Any questions for the City Manager?
So at Wilbur Square, is there another location at Wilbur Square that staff felt would be better than that location?
As it relates to the concerns about impacts on special events, as we know with Wilbur Square, we have several events each year that utilize the entire park. So I guess with respect to that concern, it wouldn't address it. But elsewhere within the park that is not going to potentially impact the sidewalks and the root structure of trees, then that could mitigate and respond to those concerns.
And I want to just state that I did stop and talk to Jill Lagan today, and she didn't have any problems with the statue being in Wilbur Square, that she could work around whatever wherever the statue would go in Wilbur Square. So I did check with her, and she said that it wouldn't bother her spring jamboree at all, just to let you know. That's all I have, I guess, for now.
Thank you.
After council begins the discussion, this will be more pertinent, but since you're there, I'll ask it now. Holly, on page 317 of the electronic packet, if you could pull that up onto the screen. It's on page 317. I can't hear you.
Which picture? She only has pictures.
Oh, it's the picture of the park with the statue imposed on it with a person standing in front of it looking at it. Hold on. So I'm trying to see where that is in relation to the other picture. So it's
This one? Yeah, it's in color.
keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Nope, keep going.
I don't think she has.
You might not even have it.
Yeah.
I do not.
Okay.
Do you know which one I'm referring to? Okay, yeah, that's the one.
This is old school.
I have an enlarged version of that if you'd like. That's much better.
Well, I just wanted to, is that the same picture?
I have that exact one that you're
Enlarged?
enlarged.
You know, if you want to, if you can parade it.
Yeah.
So when it comes, so most of us know what the question, I mean, I'm referring to. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Michael? Okay. So, the base on that is substantially different than the base in the drawings.
Yeah, the photo that you're referencing.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure. That may have been from a previous submittal. I don't know. That,
It had to have been.
I
it
don't
was
think
early
that
on.
I intended for that to make it into the packet. This one is representative of.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I'm referring to, but.
Yeah, the one before was outdated. I believe this is representative of what is on the plans.
Okay, so, thank you.
Yes.
And then, so my question's for Michael then.
Okay.
Thank you for
I'm
that.
good.
No, yeah, thanks, Grant. So then the question is, with a reduced base, more reflective of what we have in that particular picture, would the concerns of Public Works still be in place?
It would mitigate a lot of the concerns because obviously with the plan, and Holly, if you can show the site plan again. Oh, yeah, actually the one before would be fine. That one works too.
There you go.
Sure.
That works.
As you can see with the images, you have the wings of the pavers. What you're referring to, which Mr. Grant and Mr. Turner referred to as the previous design, that was a smaller footprint. And so part of the concern that Public Works had is this much larger base could impact the root system. And so obviously when you have a smaller base, there's less potential to impact the roots of the nearby trees.
Right, less turf removed.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, that was the only question I had. Thanks.
Okay.
So, discussion.
So as far as discussion goes, I wrote down my thoughts because some things that come before you, it's better to write down your thoughts because you've had quite a few thoughts about them. And this is one of those agenda items that you spend hours pondering. While I know, as with all things, there are arguments for both sides that I believe are valid, actually, it's the internal struggle I've been having that's left me with many tender thoughts and feelings. First, I asked myself, what is it about Boulder City that makes it special? Some will say our history, and others will say the people in our community. For me, I think it's both. When the first people of this community came here, they had a common purpose. They built the dam. They laid the foundation for what we have here today and built a story that we're proud of. My own father, who's 82, came and played at Wilbur Square Park when he was a young boy. His great-grandchildren last year came and played at Wilbur Park. I'm not sure that those people who had the initial vision of this park could see what it's become, but I'm thankful to them for a job well done. Second, I ask myself, could have those who built this town imagined 100 years later who we would have been as we strive to honor their efforts by maintaining, restoring, and enjoying the historic district? We pay homage to our roots, while remembering that the purpose of roots is to provide strength, stability, and life-needed nourishment. There is more to a plant than just its roots. We cannot ignore the leaves and the fruit that comes from good roots. To protect these roots, we've created a historic preservation commission. We have grants available. We strive to follow SHPO's regulations. In the short time I've been here on council, as a council person, I've found that there are many amazing efforts, both inside the city and by individual members in this community, to preserve what is beautiful and historic about this community, and have a deep sense of gratitude for that. Now today, here we have a question asking us, can we place a memorial monument for Shane Patton in Wilbur Square, the park that's part of the roots that we love? I believe we should remember that Shane Patton's great-grandfather helped build that dam. His roots are deep here. I'm sure his great-grandfather could not have foreseen this day, nor those who worked alongside of him. Now we're making decisions on whether or not we should add to their vision of this park. According to the Park and Rec Committee, they felt like it was a good idea with a vote 3-2. The Historic Preservation Commission approved it 3-1. Broadbent Incorporated reviewed the proposed work for compliance with Secretary of Interior standards rehabilitation, and based on their review, said the proposed memorial meets the standards. All measures put in place to make sure when they came to us with a recommendation that it would give us information to make the decision that we make here tonight. So finally I asked myself, is this appropriate, and does it fit into what we have and what we as a community now value? As the plant from those great roots, we've created community based on what we value. And as I left my briefing yesterday, pondering this decision, I looked up and I saw our streets lined with American flags. It made me think of the 4th of July parade. It made me think of my children, each of them getting their Great American in 5th grade, because we value being Americans here in this community and knowing what that means. It took me down to Veterans Memorial Parkway, where I looked right and I saw that we still care for our veterans here. And I headed left down a parkway named after them, and I drove to a cemetery where they're buried, at a park where they're remembered and where children play and we think about being an American. Now one of the fruits from our plant has fallen. And he's fallen so that we can stand. He's given, as President Lincoln says, the last measure of full devotion for us, so that we can step inside a booth and cast a vote. I know many would like to have this monument put down at Veterans Park, which I do feel like would be great. But I feel like we are not limited to have everything that speaks to veterans at that park. I feel like if we put it in Wilbur Square, it would stand as a reminder that freedom is not free. There is a cost, and it sits in the front row today. There are those who live
with that cost and those who died for that cost. So for me, so that I can have the conversation with my grandchildren when I stand in front of that monument, I think Wilbur Square is okay. And I want to have that conversation with them. And I want them to remember. And we must always remember, I think, and never forget. And I don't think that we should limit where we put it.
Thank you. I personally am grateful for family, friends, Shane Patton, and I'm grateful for the process that Parks and Rec Commission went through with the split vote and with the Historic Preservation Commission with split vote. I come from a background of counting votes. The Boulder City has a public monument policy. I agree, Shane Patton's a hero. Recognition is well-deserved, not just a little thing on a ball field, for instance, but a real appreciation. I feel all veterans deserve appreciation, and we need a memorial. And we have been a veterans-friendly city. Veterans Home, Veterans Cemetery, the land, the watering, Veterans Park, the ball field named after Shane Patton, Matthew Commons Way is in the entrance, 4th of July celebrations, the Circle of Stones in the memory, the poem by Damon Older King, the many active organizations of veterans. I feel strongly that our youth need a hero, a real person to admire and look up to and to emulate, not just Spider-Man. My concerns, we've had a policy in Boulder City. We've talked about the location and we've considered it. I fully support Shane Patton Memorial. I would like to see it in Veterans Park, but no matter where it is, it will be an asset to the city. Any other comments?
Those are both very heartwarming. Good job, Sherry. I believe Wilbur Square is the perfect location for it. Shane Patton, his family, the foundation, is part of the heartbeat of the city, and the heart of the city is right behind us at that park. So I think it all falls in line together for the perfect spot. Boulder City is known for the Hoover Dam, how we honor our vets. We are a true American little city, and again, it all falls in line with each other. So I think it's perfect.
Other comments?
Either way. Defer to the council member at the other end of the, no, actually, I was just stretching. All right, fair enough. Recognition and appreciation certainly to the friends who have kept this effort alive and who have maintained the remembrance of this sacrifice, and especially James, in the I won't call them random, but in the interactions that we've had, not associated with the foundation, I had no idea the sacrifice you have laid on the altar of freedom. And so my heart, my love and support to you and all of the family who have borne this, grievous sacrifice. If I can, none of the comments are going to be short, I'm afraid. Sorry. I got something, if I can share it, off of NavySeals.com. It's not very long, and I'll try and be succinct with it. I think it's things we all know, but they're worth saying. Petty Officer Second Class Shane Patton was part of a dedicated team fighting the Taliban, a fundamentalist regime that a U.S.-led coalition knocked from power in Afghanistan in 2001, but which continued to conduct guerrilla operations, particularly along the Pakistan border. Shane Patton worked to help ensure that al-Qaeda terrorists could not train in nor launch strikes from Afghanistan since their lethal attack on the World Trade Center. Shane graduated in 2000. Now, I'm hoping that they fact-checked all their info, so if I'm reading something wrong, it's off their website. In 2000 from Boulder City High, an avid baseball player, followed in the footsteps of his father, himself a retired Navy SEAL, and Shane graduated with Bud's Class 239. Shane was one of 16 troops killed when a MH-47 Chinook helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan on June 28, 2005, in that daring daylight mission to reinforce the four-man SEAL reconnaissance squad in the 8,000-foot mountainous terrain. Shane, 7 other SEALs, and 8 Army commandos died in their heroic attempt to rescue their fellow SEALs, and it lists them on the website. And they fought courageously and were killed all in that, the 3 of them were killed in that firefight against the overwhelming Taliban forces. A total of 11 SEALs died that day in the war against terror, the biggest single loss of life for Navy special warfare since World War II. To a man, they embodied the Navy's core honor, courage, and commitment, took care of their teammates to the end. And so his fellow Navy SEALs say, Shane Patton is remembered with the greatest respect and gratitude by his fellow SEALs, the Navy, and our nation, and I'll say our community. Shane was posthumously awarded the Bronze Star with Combat V for Valor and the Purple Heart. So I don't think there's any question here in the conversation. The price that was paid, and I really appreciate the personal story that you shared, Grant, how during Shane's training, he would come to your place and recover for those 2.5 days and just, eat and sleep and eat and sleep and then go back and do that BUDS training again. And so I don't know that anybody other than his family can feel that connection like you do. That's really an amazing account of friendship and brotherhood. So no matter where we ultimately decide or where it ultimately goes, that monument will be proudly displayed and honored. And I want to make sure that in our conversation we separate our love and respect of Shane and his sacrifice and the family and the foundation efforts from the location. Let's not tie those two together. And so what has been said, I appreciate greatly. The Southern Nevada Veterans Cemetery was dedicated in 1990, one of 2 in the state of Nevada. And interestingly, it's the 2nd busiest state-level cemetery in the country. It's amazing. If anybody is eligible for a military funeral, they can go to whichever military cemetery they choose. And so many go down there. If I'm not mistaken, Shane's final resting place is right there. That is sacred ground. That Southern Nevada Veterans Cemetery truly is a sacred place, a solemn place of honor and reverence. Then in 2002, the other end of Veterans Memorial Parkway, as has been stated, the Southern Nevada Veterans Home was dedicated. Only one of 2 in the state. And there's amazing staff and volunteers, many of whom live here in Boulder City, who provide compassionate care for our veterans who become residents of Boulder City by virtue of being residents there. at the Veterans Home. And we embrace them equally with all other residents of our community. And those two locations are both physically and symbolically joined by Veterans Memorial Park, which stands not dead center, but in between the two. And I think that's important to recognize and acknowledge that Veterans Memorial Parkway is the kind of the lifeblood of how we honor our veterans living, past, and even future, and those who have passed on, whether in action or of other causes. And so we talk about public spaces here. I hadn't heard the idea of a private place to place it. I don't even know if that's been thought about, but in our conversations, we're talking about public space, right? What's the right public space? So two things drive my thoughts here. Well, more than two, but at least two major things drive my thoughts here. Our forefathers of the community created the space, which is now Wilbur Square. And it was designed in the first master planned community format. And if you look from the steps of the Bureau building all the way down the center of California, Saco de Boer made that magnetic north. And so it's directly north and south. And as a matter of fact, the school, as you might have seen in the packet, put a plaque right down at the end of that, as was designed. And so it was all designed with that whole flow in mind. And then our city forefathers before us, and it's been at least 2 decades now, close to 25 years, created the public space of Veterans Memorial Park. And that then was set aside and dedicated for our community to honor and solemnly remember our veterans. And especially honor and reverence for those who've paid the ultimate price in defense of freedom across the globe. Now, Veterans Memorial Park is actually a gathering place for families and individuals. The Circle of Stones Memorial for Matthew Commons and the team he was a part of. The ball field, and when I went down and looked at the monument on that stone at the ball field, I was saddened by the condition. We need to do a lot more about the way the city maintains that, as well as any of the others that are in disrepair. The War Dogs Memorial, BMX track, the skate park, the dog park, the volleyball pits, baseball and softball diamonds, the splash park, fishing and RC, the boat ponds, the grass fields that are soccer fields, flag football fields, t-ball diamonds. Truly hundreds of people are at that park every single week, across all generations. Children, parents, grandparents are in Veterans Memorial Park. Of course, we have the National Night Out, which is held there, the 4th of July gathering and fireworks, ball tournaments, public safety car show, high school, division, regional, and state cross-country events are held there, as well as other competitions drawing participants from within the state and beyond. And if you saw on the picture that was at the War Dogs Memorial, there was a lot of poker-style challenge coin type things, and those are actually from some of those veteran legacy riders that place their coins or their riding chips on that. So they would stand to reason that those groups even include Veterans of Memorial Park in their route as they go and pay honor across their national rides to the various veteran cemeteries. A concern I have is that we run the risk of differentiating between the veterans' service and their sacrifice. I would really think that we would be remiss as a community to place different memorials in different places, and therefore just incidentally, unintentionally create a less than or a more than sentiment towards people's offerings and their sacrifice. And that's a concern I have by placing this type of memorial any place other than Veterans Memorial Park. Because to me, it gives the impression that he's different than any other veteran. And what are the odds that this tiny community has 2 killed in action veterans in the last 2 decades? And my hope is there is no more ever, but heaven forbid that there be one. Then where does that memorial go? Do we then create a space where it's more visible or less visible, and the potential for considering that that sacrifice is different than that sacrifice? And while they're unique individuals, and their personal effect on people is different, we're looking at veterans' memorials. I do appreciate every justification for every location that's been mentioned here. And they're all valid. I don't think this is there, nope, not there, that this is not, and I agree with Council Member Jorgensen that this isn't one of those, this is just, a flippant or lighthearted decision. I've lost sleep over it because I know all the implications here, and I appreciate all of them. But I do have that concern, and the one that I think tips the scale for me is I don't want to view different veterans' services and sacrifices different from each other. And I think the location begins to go down that road. And I think, therefore, Veterans Memorial Park is, in my opinion, the most appropriate place for a monument of this type. I do recognize that there are different centers of activity in the town. And while some folks may go to this part of town, some may go to the other part, and not everybody gets around the whole town all the time. And so there can be kind of those sentiments that one place is more important to them than another. But when we talk about public spaces and what they're created for, I think the most appropriate place for our community public space is Veterans Memorial Park. But again, let me reemphasize, no matter where it goes, no matter where this council decides, it will be displayed with honor and appreciated, and with reverence to the sacrifice. And I do appreciate that it's been said that, or even in the application, that other names who are a part of that, I don't know what the right word is, but the action will be listed on there. And so it's not limited to one individual. I think we could take Shane's image and representing all those that serve. But Shane having special meaning to us because he's a son of Boulder City, son of the community. Sorry, you get to share him with all of us, James, because we do honor him as a community as well. So anyway, Mayor, I think I've gone on long enough, so thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say it was very touching. I can imagine how you feel, because I would want the same thing. I'd want my life to go before my child. So I really feel a lot of compassion that way. I feel Wilbur Square is the right place for it because it's a beautiful piece of artwork. We have the walking tour of the sculptures downtown, we have a motorcycle downtown, we have a frog, and that could be a great part of the walking tour and let people know a little bit about our history. And Parks and Rec was for it, Historic was for it, it's just city staff that wasn't for it. And when I took this job on, I wanted to come out and represent the community, and that's what I feel my job is, to represent the community. And I was presented with a lot of signatures of people in the community that want the statue in Wilbur Square. And I just feel that working for the community and being part of the community, that's where it belongs. And it has a lot of history there that people can actually, as they go on a walking tour or they're just walking with their family, share the history and the story. There was a movie about that, and opens up a lot of discussion for families, I think. So I think that's the best place for it. As I look at the sculpture, the wings could be cut down and curved and make it so that they didn't damage any trees. And so I think that would be a possibility that I think they could live with. I think more than anything else, the family, the friends, the community want it in Wilbur Square. I look at Veterans Memorial Park. I worked really hard to get that park back when Bruce Woodbury was a county commissioner. He helped a lot on that. And Mike Passini and Brian Nix, because our children had no place to play. And they were getting tickets all the time and having to go see Judge Miller for riding their skateboards down the city street there, and the businesses weren't happy with them. So it became a park and a mission to build that for children. So therefore we have the skateboard park, we have the BMX track, we have all the things for kids, the fishing ponds, all those things. It was really more about the children than about the veterans at that time, and having a place for kids to be able to go and not get in trouble and be kids and blow off steam. And I just think that there's a lot of options that are out there, but I don't think there's a lot of options for this particular statue, because I think it's such a great piece of artwork that it's really something that we should display, where we're not going to have children climbing all over it, because if you drive down there at nighttime, it's rather dark in a lot of the areas, and the teenage kids hang out down there at nighttime, and as teenage kids do. I just think that it would be so much more respected in Wilbur Square than being at Veterans Park. So I have to say, I have to go along with the community on this issue and support the community and say my passion is for it to be in Wilbur Square, and that's all I guess I have to say. Thank you.
Any other comments? One of the things that I recognize is when the split vote, and I call it a split vote by the Parks and Rec and by the Historic, they all had the same concerns we do. They all were coming from different places and came together in a majority vote, and we used to talk about majority votes. And so this would require a majority vote to pass, and I don't think anybody is against the monument. I think the concern in the community, the concern up here, the concern out there is it where it needs to be. Nobody is against the monument. I mean, I haven't heard anybody. So it's, so where is it supposed to be? And I think I appreciate the Parks and Rec Commission, I appreciate the Historic Preservation, because they came and they said, you know, this is my concern. And so we don't feel badly about people who vote one way or the other, because it's still the majority. And the majority vote is still the majority. That's what we do in this country, and that's what we do in this city. And so that brings me to why this soliloquy. I can count votes, and I can count to 3. I can do that. You know, I went to school.
That's why you're the mayor.
Yeah. And knowing that this is where it's going to go, I think it would be a disservice if we don't do it unanimously. And that will require me to step back and recognize that the majority is a majority, and the reverence that we pay for someone in Wilbur Square will be in a different place, but it still is a reverent place, no matter where we put it, because he is and was and still is respected for what not only he did, but what happened to him. And I appreciate the father being here. Thank you. So with that, I would call for a vote on, or I would ask for a motion is what I should do. And I would ask for a motion.
We're directing, right? Or are we actually doing a motion? I asked two things and I see.
Motion.
Okay, I move that we recommend that the monument for Shane is placed in Wilbur Square.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there, go ahead.
It would be approve the application and with the recommendation that the monument be located in Wilbur Square.
Fantastic. That's exactly it.
That's what she's saying in short and way.
And there's been a second to that clarified motion.
Can I ask the person who did the motion to consider a modification? To work with staff on the appropriate base so as to alleviate the concerns that were expressed.
Is that accepted by the maker of the motion?
That is.
And the seconder?
Yes.
And so the motion has been to approve the memorial and the location with the proviso that the location will be addressed in some way to protect the concerns that we've had with the surrounding whatever. Not exactly word for word.
It's hard. It's hard.
So does everybody understand the motion and the second, and is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Thank you. It's been unanimous. And we will now move.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's been a long road, hasn't it? So on we go. Thanks, Mayor.
We'll now continue and on to item 9 of the regular agenda. Angela, I think you're up.
Yep. Okay. So,
Go ahead.
Item 9 is to reallocate some ARPA funding. So, in October of 2022, $2 million of ARPA funding was allocated to the municipal golf course irrigation water conservation project. That project is going forward, but will not complete it by December of 2024. ARPA funding has a rule or a requirement that if we don't spend it or have it encumbered with a contract by December 31st, 2024, we have to give it back to the federal government. We do have over $1.7 million of already complete capital improvement projects that are ARPA eligible, and so we'd just like to transfer the allocation to those projects. So the municipal golf course project can also move forward, and also the ARPA funding can spend down. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions before I receive a motion to approve Resolution 7851?
If there are none, I will move to approve that very resolution.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And that brings us to number 10. Mr. City Manager? Or
This is actually the city clerk.
City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The matter before you is pertaining to council rules of procedure that governs the council meetings. The first item is discussion and consideration of amending Section 3.1 by adding the second meeting in November to be vacated. And also, we have another item on there that would amend council rules to provide that speaker comments be limited up to 3 minutes. It's currently up to 5 minutes. And so I'll just provide some information regarding the time allotted for public comment. Over the years, I've received several comments from members of the community regarding the public comment portion of our meeting and the length of it. And as an example, most recently, the July Planning Commission's meeting, and I say Planning Commission because all of the other commissions and committees follow your same rules. Their public comment portion, just the first public comment portion, was 2 hours and 37 minutes. So I received quite a few complaints that there were people who wanted to speak, but they just didn't have the time to stay for the duration of the meeting to provide their comments. So I did research and all across Nevada and really with most cities, it's common practice that there's a 3-minute window. It varies anywhere from 1, 2 to 3 minutes. But the 3-minute window strikes a balance between allowing speakers enough time to convey their message and ensures everyone who wants to speak has the opportunity to speak. So overall, it's a practical approach to managing public input in a way that keeps managing and keeping meetings effective and fair. And I'll just give you an example of today's meeting, with the exception of one. Nobody's comments were more than 3 minutes. Just give you a point of reference. Regarding vacating the second meeting in November, although I didn't specify in the staff report, staff is recommending, although it's always up to council, that at least the second meeting be vacated during election cycles, which is even-numbered years. So the city aligned its municipal elections with Clark County Election Department in 2022, and Nevada also became at that time an all-mail ballot state. Our city charter requires any newly elected or re-elected candidates be inducted into office at the next regular meeting. Well, that all of our timelines have now changed since we've aligned with the state. So the general election will take place on November 5th, and the special meeting to canvass the results of the election will take place on Friday, November 15th. So the next regular meeting, if we went in accordance with our charter, would actually take place 6 working days later, not really allowing sufficient time to properly onboard the elected and ensure they are briefed and well prepared to understand their roles and responsibilities. So staff's requesting that it at least be vacated during election years. But again, if council desires to have the second meeting vacated every year, that also can be
And we can
approved.
have regular agenda items during the same meeting that we canvass. Correction? or
You
not?
can, if there were anything that were really urgent and time sensitive, you could add them to the special council meeting where we're canvassing the results of the election.
Okay. Questions, concerns?
Also, we're going to start putting the, giving us comments from the public in our packets.
They are, so if you're talking about the written comments.
Yes.
Yes, so any written comments provided before the meeting are forwarded to the council, but they're also included as a handout and attached as a record to the meeting minutes.
Okay, so they are attached to our regular, so if somebody
Correct.
went online, they could read those.
Yes, so if any comments, I think there were 3 that were sent to city council prior to this meeting that related to an agenda topic, will be added to the packet tomorrow and also attached with the permanent minutes.
So when did we start reading them at city council?
That practice began during COVID because the public wasn't allowed into City Hall. So during that time, we made a decision to allow written public comments, and then they were read into the record. And we also allowed the public to call in. And just as a side note, we are the only community that I'm aware of in Nevada that does allow its residents to call in during public comment.
And are we still advocating the call-in, allowing for people to call in?
That's correct. That would, yeah.
Limited to 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Yeah, if I could. Thank you. So if you could please then, Councilmember Booth kind of addressed some of these. I'm not talking about the vacating of the meeting. I'm talking about the other items. Pre-COVID, how were public comments handled and how did that process occur? If you could just summarize that for us.
Pre-COVID, public comments were only allowed during the actual meeting.
So there were no write-ins?
That's correct.
Unless somebody chose to email a council member or the group individually on their own, it wasn't part of the packet pre-COVID.
That's correct.
So you had to show up and give your comments. That was pre-COVID, right? And in your research, I'm guessing then that the other entities, we'll use Clark County, enacted similar COVID time measures as we did?
They did not that I'm aware of.
So we were the only ones that made those accommodations for
Correct.
COVID?
I don't know of any other entities that allowed written comments and the phone-in comments.
I'm not sure about written comments, but all the other entities that had a call-in process for public comment, a way to participate. Yeah, during COVID. Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
Okay, and then have all those other entities gone back to their pre-COVID measures?
I would have to look to verify. I don't believe they're allowing people to call in anymore, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to go and look at each one.
I'm not aware of any that allow.
Yeah. You don't ask a question you don't know the answer to already. I already know that. They've gone back to their pre-COVID measures. So, anybody that writes in a public comment currently, it's added to the packet. So council members
No, that's not correct.
forwarding it to the council members as they come in?
That's correct. It wouldn't be in the packet because the majority of the residents wouldn't know what was on the agenda until the agenda and packet
Okay.
were published.
Okay, thank you.
And the reason being is, so we're required to post the agenda, of course, 3 days prior to the meeting. Typically, the city clerk's office has the agenda posted 7 days prior to the meeting, and we publish the packet at the same time. There is no requirement to publish the packet that early, but we do. So hence the reason there wouldn't be an opportunity between the agenda posting and the publishing of the packet.
Oh, I
to
see,
actually include
right,
them in the
to
packet.
include them. And for one, I'm grateful that you send them out early because it gives me extra time to study, review, research, and make sure I'm prepared. So thanks for sending those out early. So the only thing that we're really adjusting here is the time, according to pre-COVID. So we're still allowing a COVID holdover by phone-ins,
That's correct.
right? Okay. It seems like we've become used to these, that they've been in place for a couple of years, and we think they've been in place for 100 years, and we're now changing the whole format of, public meetings, which isn't the case. And then a question about vacating the second meeting of November in odd years. If we only in our discussion and direction choose to automatically vacate the meeting in the election years or even years, but we want to vacate it in an odd year, would that just be done in a regular meeting, one at a time? Like, hey, this year we want to vacate it because,
Yeah, you can suspend council rules and vacate one meeting.
Okay.
And that's been done in the past because the second meeting in November does fall on the same week as Thanksgiving. So there have been occasions in the past where the meeting's been vacated.
Okay, yeah. Well, it makes sense to me to just vacate it all the time.
Forever.
Because that holiday week's never going to change, at least in our lifetimes, I don't think. You know, I appreciate your research on the times. You know, we by far the longest currently, but moving to 3 minutes, not. We're right, kind of the standard, and some are even shorter than that. And we get the message. And thanks for that, keeping the time and noting how many comments actually go that long.
And if I may, I'll let you know too that when people come up to speak in public comments, I do not start the timer as they're stating their names or writing down their name. I don't start the timer until they've started speaking their public comments.
Which is not typical. In other public bodies, it starts as soon as they get to the podium, so you're giving a little leeway there. Fair enough. Those were the questions that I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Would you like a?
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 7852.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Clarify, does that vacate the second meeting of November in every single year?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
It vacates the second meeting in November every year.
Correct.
Everybody understand? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you, unanimous. That brings us to, speaking of, so that was both A and B in number 10. And that brings us to, so Madam City Clerk, do I need to specifically say resolution number 7852, or our motions are okay with 75, 74 being repealed and replaced? Or is that motion adequate?
Yeah, the actual resolution included the amendment for both, for the vacating the meeting and the time,
Okay,
amending the council's rules of procedure.
so we're covered.
Perfect.
Which brings us to public comment. The second public comment, you can take as many of 5 minutes as you want for your last opportunity to do this. Go ahead, this is your big chance.
Brandon Smith. Good evening, Mayor, Council, everybody still here, not too many people. I just kind of wanted to touch base in my efforts going forward with trying to get this BOR building rectified to some sort of citywide standard. We've had a big week. I've got another 100 signatures to our petition in the last few days. I've also heard from Senator Rosen's office, as well as from Representative Titus, their office. So the message is getting out, and now gotten across the Boulder City border. So I can only hope now that we're going to gain some traction and try and hold them a little more responsible. We just heard an hour of how important Wilbur Square is to the city residents, the citizens, our history, our character, and yet right across the street from that, our city's most historic building, its character has been assassinated without any sort of correlation of understanding of what the city and what those sites mean to us as a whole. So again, I just wanted to make sure that you guys all know that I'm on this every minute of every day as much as I can be. Just before tonight's meeting commenced, I was privy to a correspondence between Michael and the BOR, Jacqueline, Jacqueline Gould, who is the deputy of Lower Colorado region. So now we have an actual name at the top of this mess, hopefully. And I'm going to be on this to try and action her into solution. I know none of us are happy. There's still no more than a handful of people who have allowed the moonscape to be tolerated at a visual level, notwithstanding the environmental impact that site has made. Again, that's a whole other argument. The photographs that I presented to the council in the last meeting, or the committee in the last meeting, were taken during our few cooler days during the summer. I'm going to take some new thermal readings in the next couple days as our temperatures have been quite substantially back over the 100-degree mark, which will be more reflective of what summertime temperatures at that site will actually be. And I just wanted to update you guys and let you know that I'm all over it. Thank you. And thank you for allowing the statue also at Wilbur Park. I think it's a great place. Personally, I would have actually liked to have seen it closer to the road, just to make the conversation a little bigger. I mean, and maybe bring some of our tour buses back through town who can talk about the historic district on one side and then turn to the right because they can't actually see the building anymore. Maybe they can talk about the statue and Shane's importance to the city and begin that conversation in quite a more substantial way. We all know who he is. We all know what he represents here, and we will continue that legacy in the park. But unfortunately, that way you'll have to get out of your bus or your car or you're off your bicycle and actually travel to the park to visit the statue. And there's going to be a lot of people who actually miss that opportunity because they just drive by and never see it. But I think it was well deserved. Obviously, the sacrifice he made, and definitely deserved prominent place in our city and in our history. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone on the line? 702-589-9629 for those who want to call in.
Public comment.
Again, for the record, Fred Volz. Perhaps some of you know that the Animal Foundation in East Las Vegas, overloaded with almost 500 unwanted dogs, recently took the unwise step of paying people $200 plus food and supplies if they would take a dog and give it a temporary home for just a month. There's no telling the quality of care that an unwanted dog will receive when someone sees dollar signs rather than concern with animals who have been discarded like yesterday's kitchen trash. Southern Nevada and most places around the world have a crisis of unwanted domestic animals. Yet this council continues to do nothing toward enacting a highly restrictive breeding ordinance that won't make an already bad situation even worse. Effectively, too many breeders exploit dogs over and over to make money, with no concern for the animal's long-term health or the cost to clean up the mess made by indiscriminate breeding. If we forced women to reproduce on this basis, there would be widespread outrage demanding an end to such practices, using and abusing women against their will. Why is this acceptable to impose on defenseless animals? In mid-August, a 56-year-old woman in Northern California was attacked and killed by an off-leash dog. The investigation continues, much as it does with Seven, the puppy brutally beaten and dumped in Boulder City by some seriously deranged person. A reasonable mind would conclude that leash laws for dogs, when they are not contained on the land of their human owners, makes good sense and precludes tragedies such as the dead woman. Using the same logic that the city clerk employed in the support materials to justify minimizing public comments, All the other jurisdictions she cited each have enforceable leash laws. So if, quote, everyone else does it, unquote, logic is to be applied, why isn't Boulder City keeping up with sound practices in effect at other Nevada jurisdictions? The same can be said about the local lack of periodic low-cost spay-neuter clinics, much steeper criminal penalties for animal abuse and dumping that mirror what we would be assessed if a person was the subject of such treatment, an ongoing trap-neuter release program, and mandatory microchipping. For those who believe the public doesn't care about such issues, you had 20 citizens speak during public comment at your April 23rd meeting stating that they want the city to fully support animal protection and the incredibly important work of its shelter. Over 100 Boulderites recently responded to a survey sponsored by the Boulder City Review, with a supermajority indicating they wanted a leash law for animal and human safety. How much more public input do you need to understand that these issues are important to a broad swath of the people you're supposed to represent? Let's spend some council time on improving the sad state of animal protections and conditions for Boulder City's animal residents. And I would ask that these comments be added verbatim to the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the phone? 702-589-9629 if you want to say something. Anyone here in the council chambers who would like to get up? 702-589-9629. Seeing none, hearing none, we will close public comment and turn to City Council's report.
I just wanted to say goodbye to a good friend. Jack Gall passed away this week, and he was a great help to me with the Boys and Girls Club during the golf tournaments. We never raised more money than when Jack got involved, and so I just wanted to say goodbye to a dear friend and remind everybody that at the end of the month is Worst Fest, and we're all excited about going to that. Everybody in town will be there, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I'm just looking forward to Worst Fest. There's something else coming up. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's before Worst Fest. No, it's before Worst Fest. I forgot. But no, looking forward to that. That's all.
I'm just reporting that I went to the Clark County Debt Commission meeting, and as always, rip-roaring time. And also to point out that this is homecoming week for Boulder City High School. We are people who like to pack the gym or pack the field or do those kind of things, which is something kind of fun. They do play on Friday night at 7, and there is, as always, I think, a homecoming parade that we could enjoy. So go out and support our high school and our kids. That's all.
Okay, as far as the Convention and Visitors Authority, for those marathon runners or other shorter distances out there, there's a new marathon event, running event coming to to the Las Vegas Valley in November of this year, and there's a contract for both this year and in 2025. It's called the Las Vegas Marathon. It's put on by a group, event group called Brooksy, starting at Red Rock Canyon. So you can run the marathon and wind all around that side of town, Red Rock Canyon, ending up at the Fremont Street Experience. You can do a half marathon or a 7.02 with a nod to one of our two area codes, 7.02 mile run as well. So if you want to start training now for the event in November, have at it. The F1 race was given the special event designation as allowed by state law, which basically allows for additional advertising and signage within the county. special event designation is only given per state law to events that have a countywide economic impact of greater than $250 million. The first year of the 2023 event of F1, the economic impact was nearly $1 billion. So we'll be between 250 million and 1 billion with the next F1 event coming November of this year. Side note, at Wurstfest last Saturday of this month, 2 tickets to all 3 days of F1 will be on auction. If you're an F1 fan, at the live auction, along with many other amazing offerings, activities, goods, etc. So if you're interested in great stuff to bid on, both the, I don't know if it's a silent auction, but baskets and other things, as well as the live auction, don't miss, as well as awesome food and great music, Wurstfest last Saturday of this month. And special note, the first time we had the NC2A Kickoff Classic for week 1 of college football season, set attendance records at Allegiant Stadium for all events that they've had there. Yeah, and record-breaking viewership across electronic means. And you can't watch an event with the NFL now or at Allegiant Stadium, and in many cases the NC2A, without seeing the Las Vegas brand all over it for marketing, of course giving greater exposure to our area as the premier sports and entertainment destination nearest to Hoover Dam. And go SC, they beat LSU in that awesome game. And from visitation transitioning to water, interestingly, I was visiting with a prominent Las Vegas executive for one of the major companies in town, and he was reminiscing with me about all the decades he's been coming to golf at Boulder City Municipal Golf Course, a member of private, members-only golf clubs, and still comes out to Boulder City to golf at our municipal course, and has said he's been doing it for 4 decades and loves our municipal course. So there's been a little bit in the news lately about what the actions we're doing as a community to get closer or to meet the water budget for the golf course. There's a wise vernacular that says measure twice, cut once. So I think what we're trying to do is get to the water budget without taking too big of a bite, because you're never going to go back on that. So we're on our way, we're doing the right things, and we'll run it for a season and we'll figure it out. Interestingly, with the Colorado River Commission meeting today, similar to the Water Authority, the runoff is measured compared to a 30-year average. And that 30-year average that we're using in those measurements is from 1991 to the year 2000. Now, we know so much has changed since then. 1991 to 2020. So that's 30 years. Sorry, that was bad math there for a second. And so just in the 4 years, the warming has increased, the evaporation of the snow and the rainwater is increasing, so the runoff is less. So with the older numbers, we're only at 84% runoff right now. So if you were to really factor in these more extreme last 4 years, we would probably be at a lower percentage. So it's important for us to always remember, we're at 8.1 million acre feet of runoff into the Colorado River Basin. And the original law of the river was based on 16 million gallons of flow, which we know was bad math for them then. And it was never really that except for some unusual years, but we're really low. 84% is a generous number that we're using, but we shouldn't be fooled. We're truly in a drastic drought condition. But we are still only in a Tier 1 drought condition, so efforts are being made all up and down the Colorado River Basin to conserve water, and we're having results, positive, measurable results that are occurring there. So anyway, that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you.
Today, I got to wear my Air Force hat. We had 4 of us go out to Creech Air Base. What an incredible place with people who are working with the drone technology. America, the United States of America still has a force to be reckoned with, and we're grateful that we live in the land of the free. With that, City Council is adjourned.